The massive screens in Earth's Global Defense Command Center flickered with strange symbols no human had ever seen before. It was a quiet Tuesday morning in March 2157 when humanity's world changed forever. Commander Robert Miller stared at the main display, coffee cup frozen halfway to his mouth. The signal was coming from just beyond Mars' orbit, and it wasn't from any human ship or probe. 3 ships, each larger than anything humans had ever built, hung in space like dark arrows pointed at Earth. "Sir," called out Lieutenant Anna Wilson from her monitoring station, "they're broadcasting on all frequencies. The AI translation system is working on it now." The room fell silent. 50 of Earth's best military minds waited, barely breathing, as green text scrolled across their screens. The message was simple, but its meaning shook the foundations of human civilization. To the primitive species of Sol 3, your planet is now under the protection and control of the Galactic Empire. Surrender your military forces and prepare for integration. Resistance is inadvisable. You have 6 Earth hours to respond. Miller put down his coffee and pressed the button for Global Command Communications. "This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. First contact protocols are now in effect." Within 30 minutes, the Global Defense Council had gathered. Military leaders from every major nation sat around a massive circular table, their faces lit by holographic displays showing the alien ships. "They're using technology we've never seen," reported Dr. Tom Harris, head of Earth's Science Division. "Their ships appear to be powered by some form of fusion we don't understand. But here's the interesting part. They're not trying to hide. They want us to see them." Admiral John Wright, a veteran of the last Earth War, leaned forward in his chair. "They're showing off. Classic intimidation tactics. They think we're savages with rockets." The Council agreed to send a diplomatic response. They crafted a careful message, expressing peaceful intentions while asserting Earth's sovereignty. The aliens' reply came almost instantly. "Your primitive attempts at diplomacy are noted. The Empire has absorbed 10,000 species into its glory. You will be the 10,001st. Your technology level has been assessed as Category 7, barely spacefaring. You have no choice in this matter." The room erupted in angry murmurs. Humans had fought long and hard to unite their planet, to reach for the stars. Now some empire wanted to treat them like children. "They're scanning us," announced Dr. Harris, looking at new data streams. "But their scans, they're only detecting our civilian infrastructure. They're missing everything below ground." A slow smile spread across Admiral Wright's face. "They can't see the bunkers, or the lunar bases, or the asteroid defense network. They're using standard electromagnetic scanning technology," Dr. Harris continued. "They're completely missing our quantum-shielded facilities. They don't even know what they're not seeing." Miller watched the alien ships on the main screen. They were impressive, yes, beautiful even, with their sleek designs and powerful engines. But they had made a crucial mistake. They had judged humanity by what they could see on the surface. They couldn't see the massive rail gun networks hidden in mountain ranges. They missed the swarms of stealth satellites carrying kinetic weapons. They had no idea about the AI defense systems that had been protecting Earth for decades. "We should show them something," suggested Colonel Lisa Parker, "just enough to make them think twice." The Council agreed. They would fire up one small defense platform, letting it become visible to the alien scans. Just one, out of thousands. The aliens' next message came quickly. "Your primitive orbital defense platform has been noted. It poses no threat to Imperial ships. Prepare for our arrival." Admiral Wright stood up, his voice carrying across the room. "Send them our response. Keep it simple." On screens across the alien ships, a message appeared in their own language. "You have never faced humans in war before. We strongly advise you to run." The aliens' laughter could almost be heard through their dismissive reply. "Your species' bravado is amusing. Prepare for subjugation." Miller looked at the tactical displays, at all the weapons and defenses the aliens couldn't see, and whispered, They really have no idea what they're getting into, do they? The first shots of humanity's first interstellar war would be fired soon, and the Galactic Empire was about to learn a very important lesson about underestimating humans. The Geneva Underground Command Center buzzed with activity as military leaders from across Earth gathered for what might be humanity's most important meeting. 300 feet below the surface, protected by layers of quantum-shielded concrete, Admiral Wright stood before the assembled leaders. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, pointing to the holographic display of the Imperial ships, "we have 6 hours before they expect our surrender. Let's show them what they're really dealing with." The lights dimmed as Dr. Harris stepped forward. The Empire thinks they're facing a Category 7 civilization, barely able to reach Mars. They don't realize we've been preparing for this day for 50 years. On the main screen, images began to play. Hidden missile silos in the Pacific Ocean, massive rail-gun arrays buried in the Himalayas, stealth fighters that could operate in both atmosphere and space, but most importantly, the lunar bases. Project Artemis, Dr. Harris explained, showing the hidden facilities carved into the dark side of the moon. 200 warships, built and crewed in complete secrecy. The Empire's scans can't detect them because they don't even know what quantum shielding is. Someone in the back asked, "Why don't we just show them everything? Make them back off?" Admiral Wright shook his head. "Because humanity's greatest weapon has always been being underestimated. Right now, they think they're dealing with primitive savages. Let's keep it that way, for now." Commander Miller brought up the tactical display. "We've analyzed their ships. Their shields are energy-based, designed to stop plasma weapons and lasers. But they have a weakness." He paused, allowing himself a small smile. "They've never faced kinetic weapons." The room filled with murmurs. The Empire, in all its advanced glory, had forgotten about one of the simplest forms of warfare: throwing really big rocks really fast. Their entire military doctrine is based on energy weapons, Colonel Parker added. They've forgotten that sometimes a simple bullet can do what a laser can't. The next hour was spent reviewing humanity's defensive capabilities. The Asteroid Defense Network, originally built to protect Earth from space rocks, could be turned into the largest rail gun system in human history. The Quantum Communication Network meant their forces could coordinate instantly, without any signals the Empire could detect. "We're not defenseless primitives," Dr. Harris concluded. "We're wolves in sheep's clothing, and they have no idea what they're walking into." Admiral Wright took center stage again. "I propose we send them one final warning. Not because we have to, but because what happens next." He looked around the room. What happens next will become a legend in their empire. The council voted unanimously. Earth would not surrender. In the control room, Lieutenant Wilson crafted the message. They transmitted it on all frequencies, in perfect Imperial Standard language. "To the Galactic Empire, we have received your demands for surrender. We have also noted your assessment of our civilization as Category 7. We now provide you with the following information. 1. Humans have never lost a war for their survival. 2. Humans have never surrendered their homeworld. 3. Humans have spent more time fighting wars than your empire has existed. This is not a surrender. This is not a negotiation. This is a warning. Run." The Empire's response was predictable. Their lead ship transmitted images of their vast armada, their planet-killing weapons, their countless conquered worlds. In the command center, Miller watched their response with the others. "They still think they're intimidating us." "Good," Admiral Wright said. "Let them come with their arrogance. They'll learn soon enough." Dr. Harris checked his readings. "They're powering up their ships. Looks like they're going to try to force a surrender." "How long until they're in range of Defense Platform 1? Miller asked. 20 minutes, Colonel Parker answered. "Just one platform, as planned. Let them think that's all we have." Admiral Wright looked at the tactical display one last time. Thousands of weapons remained hidden, ready to surprise an enemy that thought humans were primitive and weak. In 20 minutes, the Empire would learn their first lesson about humanity. "Send one last message," he ordered. "Keep it simple." The words that appeared on Imperial screens were brief. "You were warned." The first battle for Earth was about to begin, and the Empire was about to learn why humans had warned them to run. The Empire's subjugation fleet moved into position above Earth. 50 ships, each the size of a small city, formed a perfect attack pattern. Their golden hulls gleamed in the sunlight, a display meant to awe the primitives below. In the underground command center, Admiral Wright watched calmly. "They're using their standard formation, just like the intelligence AI predicted." "Sir," Lieutenant Wilson reported, "they're broadcasting on all channels. They're demanding our immediate surrender." Again, the Imperial commander's voice boomed through the speakers. "Your pathetic orbital platform poses no threat. Surrender now, and we will be merciful. You have 5 minutes to lower your planetary shields." Dr. Harris looked up from his console, smiling. "They still think our satellite is a shield generator. They don't realize it's just bait. Let's show them what one primitive defense platform can do," Admiral Wright ordered. "Fire when ready." The lone platform, which the Empire had dismissed as primitive technology, suddenly came to life. But it didn't generate a shield. Instead, it fired a single round, a tungsten rod, 3 meters long, accelerated to 1/10 the speed of light. The Empire's flagship didn't even try to dodge. Why should they? Their energy shields could stop any known weapon. But they had never faced a simple metal rod moving at 29,979 kilometers per second. The rod punched through their shields like they weren't there. Physics did the rest. The flagship split in half, its reactor going dark. The command center erupted in cheers, but Admiral Wright raised his hand for silence. That was just the hello. Now comes the real surprise. The Empire's ships scattered, firing energy weapons at the platform. But it was already too late. From hidden silos in the Himalayas, Pacific Ocean, and Antarctic ice, humanity's real weapons revealed themselves. 1,000 kinetic strike platforms, each loaded with simple metal rods, opened fire. The sky lit up with trails of superheated air as the rods streaked toward their targets. Impossible. The Empire's transmission was filled with panic. Their weapons, they're not energy-based. How are they penetrating our shields? Commander Miller watched the tactical display as 15 more Imperial ships vanished from the screen. They really never considered someone would just throw rocks at them, did they? "Sir," Colonel Parker called out, "they're reforming for a mass attack. Looks like they're going to try to overwhelm us with numbers." Admiral Wright nodded. "Right on schedule. Dr. Harris, show them trick number 2. Dr. Harris typed in a command sequence. Across Earth's orbit, thousands of tiny satellites, previously invisible to Imperial scans, activated their electromagnetic pulse generators. The Empire's ships suddenly found their complex electronic systems shutting down. Ships built for energy warfare were helpless against humanity's simplest weapons. "They're retreating," Lieutenant Wilson announced. "All surviving ships are jumping out of the system." The battle had lasted exactly 7 minutes. 37 Imperial ships lay destroyed. The rest fled, their advanced systems damaged by good old-fashioned electromagnetic pulses. In the command center, Admiral Wright stood up. "Send a message to all Earth Defense Forces. Well done, everyone." But this was just round 1. Dr. Harris checked his readings. "According to our long-range sensors, they're calling for reinforcements. A lot of reinforcements." "Good," Commander Miller said. "Let them bring their whole fleet. They still haven't seen our ships hidden on the dark side of the moon." Colonel Parker brought up new tactical displays. "They'll be back, and they'll be angry. They're not used to losing." "No," Admiral Wright agreed. "They're not. But that's their weakness. They've spent too long being the biggest kid on the playground. They forgot that sometimes the small kid has a rock in their hand." Lieutenant Wilson's console beeped. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the retreating ships. They're asking what we are." Admiral Wright thought for a moment, then smiled. "Send them this reply. We are human, and you should have run when we warned you." As the message was sent, the command center staff knew this was just the beginning. The Empire would return with a bigger fleet, but humanity was ready. They had spent decades preparing for this day, and they had plenty more surprises waiting. The first battle for Earth was over. The war was about to begin. 3 days after humanity's first victory, the Empire returned. This time, they weren't playing games. From his position in Lunar Base Alpha, Commander Miller watched as over 500 Imperial warships appeared at the edge of the solar system. Their massive fleet stretched across the stars like a wall of metal and energy. "Well," he said into his quantum comm, "looks like we got their attention." Admiral Wright's voice came through crystal clear from Earth Command. "Perfect. They brought exactly what we expected. Dr. Harris, are you ready?" "Yes, sir," Dr. Harris replied from his station. "Operation Ghost Fleet is go." The Empire's new commander broadcast his message across the solar system. "Primitive humans, you have angered the mighty Empire. Witness our true power. Our main battle fleet will." The transmission cut off as humanity launched its next surprise. From behind the dark side of the moon, 200 Earth ships emerged. They were smaller than the Imperial vessels, but they were built for one purpose: to prove humans knew more about space warfare than anyone expected. "Launch the drones," Commander Miller ordered. 10,000 small, automated fighters shot out from Earth's ships. Each one was piloted by an AI that could think and react 1,000 times faster than any organic pilot. The Imperial fleet opened fire with their energy weapons, filling space with beams of light. But the human ships and drones moved in patterns the Empire had never seen before, dodging and weaving like a swarm of angry bees. "They're still using standard attack formations," Colonel Parker noted from her tactical station. "They haven't learned anything." "Time to teach them about human warfare," Admiral Wright commanded. "Execute Pattern Delta." Earth's fleet scattered in what looked like chaos to Imperial observers. The drones split into hundreds of smaller groups. The Empire's neat formations broke apart as they tried to track multiple targets. That's when humanity's ships revealed their next surprise. "Magnetic pulse bombs away," Commander Miller announced. Small dark objects drifted among the Imperial ships. The Empire ignored them, focusing on the obvious threats. That was their second mistake. The bombs detonated, sending waves of magnetic energy washing over the Imperial fleet. Ships that relied too heavily on advanced electronics began to drift. Their systems scrambled. "Now for the old trick," Admiral Wright ordered. "Fire the kinetic rounds." Rail guns on every human ship opened up. Simple metal rods, accelerated to incredible speeds, tore through the confused Imperial fleet. Ships that still had working sensors tried to dodge, but the AI drones had already boxed them in. In the command center, Lieutenant Wilson watched the tactical display with wide eyes. "Sir, they're deploying something new. Some kind of energy web between their ships." "Right on schedule," Dr. Harris said. "They think they've figured out how to stop kinetic weapons. Show them why humans don't rely on just one trick." Commander Miller pressed a sequence on his console. From Earth's hidden orbital platforms, new weapons powered up. Not rail guns this time, but gravity manipulators, technology the Empire thought impossible for primitives to possess. The energy web between Imperial ships shattered as focused gravitational beams twisted space itself. Ships that survived found themselves being pulled in multiple directions at once. "Sir," Colonel Parker called out, "they're trying to regroup near Mars. Their remaining ships are forming a defensive sphere." Admiral Wright nodded. "Time to show them why fighting near planets is a bad idea when humans are involved." From bases hidden in Mars' polar ice caps, more human ships emerged. The Empire's defensive formation was suddenly caught between two forces. Message from the Imperial flagship. Lieutenant Wilson reported. They're asking how we learned to fight like this. Commander Miller looked at the tactical display, where Imperial ships were either retreating or surrendering. Tell them we learned by fighting ourselves. For thousands of years, humans fought humans. We got very, very good at finding new ways to win. The battle was ending. The Empire's main fleet, the one that had conquered 1,000 worlds, was in ruins, but everyone in Earth's command knew this wasn't over. They'll be back, Admiral Wright said quietly. And next time, they'll bring their planet killer. Commander Miller smiled. Good, because we've got something special waiting for that. The Empire was about to learn that humans didn't just fight wars. They revolutionized them. 1 week after their main fleet's defeat, the Empire made its final desperate move. A massive ship, larger than all others, emerged from hyperspace. The planet killer had arrived. From Earth Command, Admiral Wright watched the massive vessel approach. It was shaped like a spear, its length greater than the diameter of Earth's moon. They actually brought it, Commander Miller said through the quantum comm. Their ultimate weapon. Dr. Harris' fingers flew across his console. The planet killer's energy readings are off the scale. They're charging their main weapon. The Imperial Supreme Commander's message boomed through every speaker on Earth. Foolish humans, you have forced us to use our greatest weapon. The planet killer will reduce your world to ash. Surrender now, or watch your planet die. Admiral Wright stood calmly. Start the countdown, Dr. Harris. Sir, Lieutenant Wilson reported, they're positioning the planet killer for a clear shot at Earth. Their weapon will be ready in 5 minutes. Colonel Parker smiled at her tactical screen. Perfect. They put it exactly where we wanted. Across the solar system, hidden sensors activated. Unknown to the Empire, humans had been preparing a special welcome for the planet killer. Every human ship and weapon platform went dark, appearing to power down. They think we're giving up, Commander Miller observed from his lunar base. They really don't understand humans at all. The planet killer's weapon continued charging, its front section glowing with impossible energy. The Empire had used this weapon to destroy 17 worlds. No civilization had ever survived its power. But they had never used it against humans. 30 seconds until they can fire, Dr. Harris announced. All quantum nodes are in position. Admiral Wright picked up his comm. All units, execute Operation Mirror. Around the planet killer, space itself seemed to twist. 1,000 quantum entanglement nodes, hidden throughout the solar system, activated at once. Each one carried a simple command to the nanites humans had secretly attached to the planet killer's hull during the previous battle. The Empire never saw it coming. The nanites burrowed into the planet killer's systems, rewriting commands and reversing power flows. The massive energy meant to destroy Earth began flowing backward through the weapon systems. Sir, Lieutenant Wilson called out. The planet killer's weapon, it's turning inward. The Empire's greatest weapon began to glow from the inside. Their panic transmissions filled all channels as they tried desperately to shut down their own systems. Now, Admiral Wright ordered, show them what humanity's AI can really do. The quantum network came fully online. Every human combat AI activated at once, forming a single massive intelligence. In microseconds, it took control of the nanites, turning the planet killer's own computer systems against it. Message from the Imperial Supreme Commander, Colonel Parker announced. They're begging for mercy. Admiral Wright nodded. Give them 60 seconds to evacuate their ship. We're not monsters. The Empire's escape pods launched in a panic as the planet killer's systems went critical. The massive ship, pride of the Empire's fleet, began breaking apart from the inside. Evacuation complete, Commander Miller reported. All Imperial personnel are clear. Good, Admiral Wright said. Dr. Harris ended. The planet killer exploded in a flash that briefly outshone the sun. When the light faded, nothing remained of the Empire's ultimate weapon except scattered debris. In the command center, Silence fell. Humanity had just destroyed a weapon that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries. Incoming transmission. Lieutenant Wilson said quietly. The Imperial High Command is requesting a ceasefire. Admiral Wright looked at the tactical display, where the remains of the planet killer drifted in space. Tell them we accept. And remind them, this is what happens when they threaten our home. The Empire's response was immediate. How? How did primitives defeat our greatest weapon? Commander Miller's reply was simple. We warned you to run. Next time, listen. As celebration broke out across Earth, everyone knew the war was nearly over. The Empire had learned what so many others had learned before. Never underestimate humanity's will to survive. But the final lesson was still to come. The Imperial War Council gathered in their grand chamber on their capital world, billions of miles from Earth. 12 alien leaders sat around a massive holographic table, their faces showing a mixture of fear and disbelief. Impossible. The Imperial High Commander slammed his fist on the table. How could primitives defeat our planet killer? How could they destroy our fleets? Dr. Harris, watching through hidden quantum cameras the humans had secretly placed in the council chamber months ago, smiled at his screen in Earth Command. They still haven't found our spy systems. The Imperial Council's discussion continued, unaware they were being watched. Their weapons are primitive, one council member argued, just metal rods and magnets. Primitive weapons that destroyed 300 of our best ships, another countered. When was the last time any civilization caused us such losses? Admiral Wright watched the feed with interest. They're finally asking the right questions. On the Imperial capital, a military analyst stepped forward. Honored Council, I have studied the humans' combat data. They fight. Wrong. Explain, the High Commander demanded. Every civilized species follows the rules of honorable combat, the analyst said. Energy weapons, shield battles, proper formations. But humans, he shuddered. Humans have no concept of honorable warfare. In Earth Command, Commander Miller laughed. Took them long enough to figure that out. The analyst continued. They use hidden weapons. They attack from ambush. Their AI fights alongside them as equals. They turn our own technology against us. It's barbaric. And effective. A council member added quietly. Lieutenant Wilson's console beeped. Sir, we're picking up massive data transfers from the Imperial capital. They're studying Earth's history. Good. Admiral Wright nodded. Let them learn. On the screens, the Imperial Council watched in horror as Earth's military history played before them. Thousands of years of human warfare flashed by. Guerrilla tactics, surprise attacks, innovative weapons, and countless strategies that the Empire considered dishonorable. By the stars, one council member whispered. They spent their entire history fighting. Themselves. Yes, another replied. Every weapon, every tactic, every strategy. They developed them fighting other humans. They didn't develop technology to impress anyone. They developed it to survive. Colonel Parker watched the Imperial Council's growing realization with satisfaction. They're finally understanding what they're dealing with. The High Commander stood up. How do we fight an enemy that breaks every rule of warfare? That turns our own weapons against us. That hides their true strength until it's too late. In the silence that followed, a junior council member spoke up. Maybe we shouldn't fight them at all. The council chamber erupted in argument. Some demanded total war against Earth. Others argued for immediate peace. The debate raged until a new message appeared on their screens. Sending now, Dr. Harris announced. Typing the final command. The Imperial Council froze as words appeared in their chambers. We've been watching your entire meeting. Your communication systems were compromised months ago. Every secret, every weakness, every fear. We know them all. We didn't want this war. You forced it on us. Remember that next time you think about attacking primitive species. Humanity. The Imperial High Commander sank into his chair. They've been in our systems all along. Even now, we don't know their true capabilities. Admiral Wright stood up in Earth Command. Send the final message. On screens across the Imperial capital, a new message appeared. The choice is yours. Peace or destruction. Choose wisely. You have 1 hour. P.S. We warned you to run. In Earth Command, the staff watched as panic spread through the Imperial capital. Think they'll make the right choice? Commander Miller asked. Admiral Wright nodded. They will. Because now they understand what we are. Not just warriors, but survivors. Not just fighters, but innovators. And if they don't understand? Colonel Parker asked. Then we'll teach them one final lesson about humanity, Admiral Wright replied. But somehow, I don't think that will be necessary. The Empire had finally learned. Sometimes, the most dangerous species are the ones who warn you before the fight begins. Exactly 1 hour after humanity's ultimatum, the Imperial Council made their decision. Their response arrived at Earth Command through multiple channels, showing just how nervous they had become. Admiral Wright stood before the main screen, surrounded by his command staff. Everyone held their breath as the message appeared. To the leaders of humanity, the Galactic Empire formally requests peace negotiations. We acknowledge Earth and all human-controlled space as sovereign territory. We await your terms. Lieutenant Wilson looked up from her console. They've already begun withdrawing their remaining ships from our solar system. Smart move, Commander Miller said through the quantum comm from his lunar base. Finally, they're showing some intelligence. But Dr. Harris raised his hand in warning. Wait, something's happening in their capital. Their quantum networks are lighting up with activity. On the screens, they watched as the Empire's leadership argued frantically among themselves. Some wanted to accept humanity's terms completely. Others argued for one final, desperate attack. Admiral Wright smiled. They still don't realize we can see everything they're doing. Dr. Harris, shall we show them our final card? Gladly, sir. Dr. Harris typed a series of commands. Across the Empire's vast territory, every screen, every communication device, every computer system suddenly activated. The Empire's leaders watched in horror as their most secret files began displaying on public channels. What is this? The Imperial High Commander's panic was clear in his transmission. Commander Miller's voice was calm as he replied. Insurance. We've had access to your systems for months. Every secret, every hidden weapon, every dirty deal. We have it all. If you choose war, everyone in your empire will know exactly what kind of leaders they have. Colonel Parker checked her tactical display. Their military commands are standing down. All ships are returning to base. In the Imperial Council chamber, the reality of their situation finally sank in. They hadn't just lost a military battle. They had been completely outmaneuvered on every level. Very well, the Imperial High Commander's voice was heavy with defeat. We accept your terms without condition. The Empire recognizes Earth as a sovereign power. Admiral Wright nodded. Good choice. Now let's discuss the future. The peace negotiations were surprisingly simple. Humanity's terms were clear. Earth and all human-controlled space would be recognized as independent territory. The Empire would never again attack a developing civilization. And most importantly, they would remember the lesson they had learned about judging species by their apparent technology level. One more thing, Admiral Wright added at the end. We'll be keeping our monitoring systems in your network, just to make sure everyone behaves. 3 days later, the formal peace treaty was signed. As the Imperial representatives prepared to leave Earth, Commander Miller asked them one final question. Was it worth it? Attacking us? The Imperial High Commander looked at him for a long moment. No, we thought we were gods among the stars. You showed us we were just bullies who had gotten too used to fighting weaker opponents. In Earth Command, the staff began to celebrate, but Admiral Wright raised his hand for attention. Dr. Harris, show them what we actually have in their systems. Dr. Harris grinned as he displayed the truth. They had only infiltrated about 10% of the Empire's networks. The rest had been an elaborate bluff. Sometimes, Admiral Wright said to his amazed staff, "The best weapon is making your enemy think you're stronger than you are." Lieutenant Wilson looked at the celebration on her screens as the news spread across Earth. "Do you think they'll ever try again?" "No," Commander Miller replied from the lunar base. "Because we didn't just beat them. We taught them to fear us. And fear is a much better deterrent than any weapon." Admiral Wright looked out at the stars through the command center's window. "We gave them a chance to run. They chose to fight, and in doing so, they learned humanity's most important lesson." "What's that, sir?" Colonel Parker asked. "That the most dangerous enemy isn't the one with the biggest weapons," he smiled. "It's the one who warns you to run, and means it." Across the galaxy, the story spread. The mighty Empire had finally met its match, not in advanced aliens with superior technology, but in humans who simply refused to give up their home. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, other civilizations began to take note. When humans warn you to run, you should probably listen. The end.